Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
On May the 15th, let's turn our attention to our Old Testament reading, 1 Samuel 14, as we continue to follow the story of Saul. And we have really a glimmer of light in the story of Saul, but the glimmer of light doesn't glow around Saul so much as it glows around Jonathan. Look at the way the Bible starts. One day, Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let us go over to the Philistine garrison to the other side." But he didn't tell his father. And so as we see this story unfold, Jonathan, he goes ahead of the army, and Jonathan has success. Now, Jonathan, in this story, we're going to see Jonathan, he's the hero. And Saul, he's rash, as well as he's insecure. So let's flip ahead to this next page here, and let's look at verse 29. Then Jonathan said, "My father has troubled the land. See how my eyes have become bright, because I tasted a little of this honey." And then verse 31. They struck down the Philistines that day from Michmash to Aijalon, and the people were very faint. The people pounced on the spoil, took sheep and oxen, calves, slaughtered them on the ground, and then here it is, the people ate them with the blood. Then they told Saul, "Behold, the people are sinning against the Lord by eating the blood." And so here Saul makes this vow. He is pictured in the text as rash instead of calculating. Look at verse 35. And Saul built an altar to the Lord. It was the first altar that he built to the Lord. And then verse 36. Then Saul said, "Let us go down after the Philistines by night, plunder them until the morning light. Let us not leave a man of them." And they said, "Do whatever seems good to you." But the priest said, "Let us draw near to God here." Now that's important. Thank the Lord that the priests were there. Instead of the people rushing headlong into consequence and having their consequences of their actions for being rash and rushing headlong, instead of asking and inquiring of the Lord, thank God that in the narrative we see priests there saying, "Wait a minute, before we take a step, let's ask God what we should do." Now let's keep reading. "Let us draw near to God," verse 37. "And Saul inquired of God, Shall I go down after the Philistines? Will you give them into the land of Israel?" Now that's the question. And then look what happens. But he did not answer him on that day. So there was silence, and that silence was not good. And Saul said, "Come here, all you elders of the people, and know and see this sin has arisen today. For as the Lord lives, who saves Israel, though it be in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die." And so there again we're seeing that Saul is rash instead of calculating. Verse 47. And here's a glimmer of light for Saul. We see some good things in Saul. Verse 47. When Saul had taken the kingship over Israel, he fought against all the enemies on every side, against Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, against the king of Zobah, and against the Philistines. Wherever he turned, he routed them. And he did valiantly instruct the Amalekites, and delivered Israel out of the hands of those who plundered them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan, Ishvi, Malchishua, and the names of his two daughters were these. The name of the firstborn was Merib, and the name of his younger Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the commander of his army was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. Kish was the father of Saul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. Now look at verse 52. Don't miss this. There was hard fighting against the Philistines all the days of Saul. And when Saul saw any strong man or any valiant man, he attached him to himself. And here we see a debilitating flaw in the life of Saul. Saul is an insecure leader. Not only is he rash, not only does he act without calculating, we see really the root of Saul's issue was he is an insecure leader. And we're going to see that play out in our reading for tomorrow as we see Saul Saul doesn't have a view of himself as high as God views himself, or as God views him, and so he is an insecure leader. Now let's turn over to John chapter 16, and let's read this passage in verse 12. I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth, and he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. He will glorify me, for he will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine. Therefore I said that he will take what is mine and declare it to you. Now, that's important as it relates to the ministry of the Holy Spirit. And by the way, remember, we read from the Psalms a moment ago, open my eyes that I may behold wonderful things from your law. It's the Holy Spirit who gives us understanding from the law. And so we turn our attention now to Psalm 119. Let's go over our Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and now we have Vav. Those W's are V's. Vav. Let's look at it. Look at verse 42. For I trust in your word. Take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for my hope is in your rules. Look at verse 47. For I find my delight in your commandments, which I love. Verse 48. I will lift up my hands toward your commandments, which I love, and I will meditate on your statutes. Now you be honest today. Do you love the commandments of the Lord? Do you delight in his commandments? And it's my prayer that if not, you indeed do, because the Lord is great, he is good, and he is forming in you a heart ready to listen to his word.